Welcome to blackfilm.com, Rewind with Ellen. I am your host, Ellen Windero, and I'm joined by my co-host, Roger Carter. Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
I feel like I always have to have some sort of accent when I say your name. I don't know what that's about,
It's
but I don't
fine.
mind
I
it.
get it. I get it. I get it.
I don't, but it's always a British accent though, which is confusing. Like I don't,
It's
whatever.
close. It's close. It's fine. Go for it.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Things are coming around.
They slowly but surely, yes,
Yeah.
indeed. I'm less sad than I was last week just because of the state of our country, but still a little anxious though.
Yeah. It looks like the planet won't implode.
Yeah,
But still, I'm like the
right.
20th get here today. Today.
I mean, but do you really think the Duck Dynasty is still going to try to storm DC and the Capitol and the courts? Like, do you think they're that brazen to still try?
Here's the thing. Watching a bunch of interviews over the past couple of days, and so the scariest. I'm more fearful of the future because out of the 70 million people that voted for him, we all think it's some rednecks, neo-Nazi people. No, these are people that we smile and say hi to, that we work with. Those are also his supporters. And
Right.
so that's going to be the crazy part of really deciphering, who's who and what side you're on. And, with the impeachment too, it's like, where are you going to go with this? And will he might be able to build his own little army of people now. I'm just going crazy outside the box. It's just like, wow, like, what do we do with this? And so I think that's the scariest part of it all. Who do we hold accountable, whether it be fake news, senators, government in terms of still pushing this propaganda. And, I'm from Staten Island, so trust me, that's the red state. So just hearing people go in and out, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So, so for my people, just be safe, be careful, be mindful. I will not be traveling across the country this year. I will stay in my blue states. I'm not even going to Georgia, even though they turned Georgia blue. I'm not even going to Georgia.
Yeah, it's better, you stay where you are and just be safe until the dust clears, if it ever does. I've been talking to a couple of my Black male friends, and the whole idea of what if there was a civil war and now the Black men in our lives have to go and fight. Like that sounds so far-fetched, but then again, it isn't. And that's what's so scary and just giving me some mild anxiety because it's not far-fetched. And I never thought I would say that.
Well, also, again, going back to the voters, he had like 10% of Black voters, male Black voters. I mean, that's something we have to process. 30% of Latino Americans, like that's something you have to process. Like, we don't even know you're hanging out. It's got my back, and the next thing you know, no, I don't.
There's this video circulating around on social media of a group of white protesters, and there's this one Black guy, and he's part of the F Black Lives Matter. So I'm trying to think about like what's going on in his head that he's standing there and saying F Black Lives Matter. Does he not recognize that he's Black? It's confusing.
Oh, the young kid who had an awful fade. They were ripping it his hair.
Right. They blamed it on the fade. I thought that was hysterical.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I went to a lot of white schools, predominantly white, being like one of maybe 5 Black kids in the school. And so I saw kids like that. It's just knowing where you come from. In New York City, you can't do that. You'll get smacked upside your head real quick. You're like, all right, bro, where are you from? But he feels like he's one of them. He doesn't, he hasn't been put in a situation yet.
He's in
and until it goes, it's worse in the second place. It's going to be a situation where they're hanging out one night and the only person that gets picked up is him. And then it hits like a light bulb. Where's my boys now? What's going on with this? What's going on with that? It's like, you see, you are different. And so just a reminder of that. I hate to say it, but I've seen it happen time and time again.
Yeah. Whew. I'm looking forward to next week just to see how that's going to play out. But let's get this party started. I've been chomping at the bit to talk to you about this Tiger Woods documentary that recently premiered on HBO. Part one. I've only watched part one. I think part two comes out on Sunday. But you
Yeah.
kind of made it sound like part two was available. Is that true? Is
No,
that
I
accurate?
thought so because everybody was talking about it. I was like, where are you seeing part two? Unless there's a preview somewhere. So I apologize for that. But yeah, it's not out yet officially on
Right.
Sunday. But I think someone has a sneak peek somewhere. So anyway.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was looking for the part two.
Yeah.
So first of all, I didn't know what to expect going into this. I mean, I had some idea, but I did not realize that they were going to do an in-depth documentary about this man's life from birth to what, 45, which he is today.
Yeah.
And so we kind of see, like, you know, his rise to fame, which is part one, right? Rise to fame. We see his complicated relationship with his father, and then the significance of his place in history, right, as both a sports and cultural phenomenon. Now, what I appreciated and didn't really realize was the impact his father played in his life, just outside of
Really?
golf. I mean, that's the only relationship they really had, right? Was the
Yeah.
golf. That was the glue. Um, and so it was surprising to me to see that there really was nothing else besides golf. I think in my mind, I thought, like, all right, outside of this sport, they have a relationship, like a legitimate father and son relationship, then they can relate to each other beyond this sport. So that explained a lot about who Tiger grew up to be, right? Um, I thought it was kind of gangster, but yet I understand Nike's position in right in in making him the person that he turned out to be, in terms of marketing him as this person that's going to kind of bridge this racial discord. I can't even be mad at Nike for that move. What do you think about that?
I mean, Nike's been doing that move since 2021.
Right, but the documentary kind of made it sound. It kind of, to me, made it sound like Nike was wrong for doing that or taking that approach when that's been their MO.
Well, yeah. So I think if you look back at it now, it seems wrong, right? But at
Right.
that time, that was the angle because you literally couldn't go play in Augustus. You know, you're the
You weren't
like
allowed.
the
Right.
number one person in the world, and everybody wants to come see you. Like it's pandemonium. And by the way, people that look like you can't play in this golf course. Wait, what?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, it was really crazy. It blew my mind. There were some things. So growing up in Staten Island, one of my best friends, he's actually a golf pro. He teaches at he runs one of the golf courses in New Jersey.
Hmm.
So grew up in his home, Irish guy. His parents own a bar, but they watch golf 24/7. I mean,
Yep.
golf was on all the time. And for a young black kid, I was like, "Oh my God, what is this? Please, anything else? Anything else with this? Anything else with this?" And so it wasn't until Tiger came along where I was like, "Oh, oh, okay, all right, I'll watch now." So that's how huge he was. He changed the sport not only for kids like me, but also got kids that weren't white people and white kids to enjoy him and actually see, wow, you are more than just a man. You know, there's talent in there. You are a person. You know, look at it as there's some humanizing you in a
Yeah.
way instead of just, oh, well, he just has talent. No, there's a different respect for golf because it's a lot of the mind game. And so now that you're not just an athlete playing a sport, now you have to think. Now, you know, you're propelled to another level, and so they have to give you that respect no matter what. And you're beating all these elite players at the same time.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
deep.
he was a beast at it. And, you know, you like to think, well, one word that they kept saying that I thought was interesting was that his father invented him. I thought that was an odd word to use to describe it, because while his father is the reason Tiger got into the sport, I feel like Tiger was born with that je ne sais quoi, that, you know, that thing, that discipline, that focus. Because, you know, in the beginning, I think they showed him as a 2-year-old or as a 1-year-old, I don't know, watching his father hit what is it called, putts in the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know anything about golf. And just the focus that he had, like he wasn't even trying to leave the room to go get fed. He was focused on his father. So, I mean, I feel like I have a newfound appreciation for Tiger Woods. I don't know that I ever paid close attention to the appreciation component. Just recognizing what he's been through and the reason why all that ish that happened later on in life and how it's connected to his father.
Yeah, so his talent, like I said, there's a skill set there, but if it's not for his dad, that discipline, because the
Sure.
teenage years are the hardest time, right? I used to play the cello, I used to play an instrument, and so my teenage years, I wanted to play basketball. I didn't want to play the instrument, but I tell you today, if I would have focused those years, who
Mm.
knows what I could have become. And so those are the hardest years because remember, he's like, I want to play another sport. No, no, no. He just plays. The teachers are like, well, can he just play and just something else? No, 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 no. Get out of my face. He plays golf. He lives, eats, breathes golf. And that takes another sort of level to make him who he is. And so I argued on one of my shows, I said, he's one of the top 5 athletes in of all time. And my friend
Yeah.
was arguing, was like, no, no, no. He transcended golf. And when you transcend a sport, but also people respect you from other sports, that's you became an icon overnight.
So do you
And then
think he would
also,
have ended if he wasn't black? If he was just a white guy who's as good as he
no,
was? Right.
no, because you had Jack Nicklaus, you had
Right.
Arnold Palmer, you had those guys. There's a respect for the game, but not you're transcending. I mean, it reminds me of Serena and Venus Williams. They transcended tennis.
Tennis,
For
yeah.
everyone, everybody was playing tennis, and you respect all these McEnroe and Sampras and all these guys. But at the end of the day, like they really changed the sport, really, really changed the sport. Where other people now, everybody's looking to play now, and so that, and for this is when you really started to see companies like transform to who they are today. Like Nike became Nike during that era.
Mm.
Now they can just like, who I am. You see the sign. You don't got to do anything else. So that was a time when companies were really like, you remember they're doing the deals like $100 million for this Amex, $100 million Buick, $100 million Weedy, $100 million. I was like, Jesus, and he was just, here you go, here you go, here you go. And so I think his relationship with his father never built a relationship with him as a teenager or a young adult. He was still seeing him as his son. And so Tiger hits on, he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do right now because I don't know if you're going to have a problem transitioning from a father to a businessman. And so he never readdressed or reassessed, I should say, the relationship as he got older. He was like,
Yeah.
no, 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 I'm going to treat you like this. And that's where the discipline, I think, comes in, where he's like, okay. And then he got into college. That's when like they kind of separated and he became his own man.
And I think that has a lot to do with his father's actions later on with the other women. Because if you're not looking at your son as your son, you're looking at him as, someone I invented, someone I want to, continue being great. Then I don't know. There's a disconnect there. Like you should know better than to have other women around your son, right? So in my mind, I mean, you should, right? But so in my mind, I'm like, well, was his father just that much disconnected from this is my child, therefore I can't treat him like he's my homie, and I can't have these other chicks around my teenage son like I don't have a whole wife at home. So it explained a lot.
It did and it didn't, right? Because we always try to disconnect, like, you can be different than your parents were, right? But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it always comes back to bite you. So, he tells the girl he was dating at the time, my dad's out again with these ladies. I hate him for that. I love my mom. So he's seeing that. And you would think there's a switch that would go off and be like, I am not going to be that same person.
Mm,
But
yeah. Right.
sure enough, it comes back. And then he just, I mean, the next week when we really go into it, I got stories for days. When I lived down in LA, I could tell you some stories.
Wait, you have
But
stories
it was
for days? What is that? What does that mean? About
in
Tiger? Or
Holly
stories
about no, no, about Tiger, but no, we good, we good, we
when
good.
you said it
But
was like I got story.
yeah, but
I got
about
stories.
Tiger,
Oh,
about Tiger, and yeah, a couple of his ladies lived in Hollywood, and they would hang out and work at restaurants and stuff. So it's like it was just crazy back then.
okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It was crazy. So
Fine stories. Yeah, so the whole idea of great opportunity versus the social burden of that great opportunity, I thought was kind of interesting, right? Because you rise to fame and become this person, but with that comes a lot of burden, right? A lot of expectations, a lot of responsibility. But I am glad that Tiger rose to the occasion in a sense within his career,
Yeah.
right? Like he didn't completely crash and burn to the point where we won't always know him for who he was and who he is today. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. Part 2 can't come quick enough and I love the way they ended part 1 with the woman.
Yeah.
You,
Rachel, you can tell.
you
Rachel, you can
already
tell is
knew.
about to rip him a new one. I want to add one more thing before we move on.
Yeah.
I kind of felt, and I hope they get Tiger in this at all in this doc. I hope they get him in this doc because that's a great thing about The Last Dance is that they got Jordan to speak on a couple of things, and it was like, it add a little oomph to it. Because there's a scene, right? And I'm almost afraid that Tiger didn't look at himself as a black athlete, didn't want to be labeled that because there's a scene he's like, well, I feel like I'm doing this for the blacks. And I was like, for the blacks?
I
I was
know.
I was like, for the black boy, if you don't. But I felt like an OJ moment, right?
Yep.
He's like, I'm OJ. I ain't black. I'm OJ.
Okay.
Like, right? That's how I really felt. Like Tiger's like, I'm Tiger. It's just like, bro, if you don't check yourself real quick.
I mean,
So that's all I want to say on that.
he referred to himself as Cablinasian.
Oh yeah. That was
Kaplan on Oprah show, the look on Oprah's face when he said that, like, so you not claiming black, like you're not black.
She said ninja in her head. She said ninja.
I'm pretty sure.
Not today.
Not today, Satan. But yeah, I can't wait for Sunday just to watch the second half of that documentary. I hope wherever Tiger is today and whatever he's doing, I wish him well, and I hope that
he's still playing.
Right, but just mentally, I hope that he's in a better and healthy place. Life happens. It's not like what he went through is so unique. It just happens that he was a black athlete, and I think Brian Gumbel said it best when he said a lot is asked of athletes of color that isn't for other athletes, and that resonated. Like, okay, I get that.
The weight of the world on his shoulders. I mean, that's tough.
Right. It's a lot. All right. So moving on, the next film is what? If Not Now, When? Which is a film that just recently dropped, I think about a week ago. And it is co-directed by Megan Good. I love Megan Good.
Oh my God, I love her.
And it's also co-directed by Tamra Bass, who is Megan's best friend. It stars Megan Holder, Makia Cox, Lexi Underwood, and Niles Fitch, and also McKinley Freeman, just to name a few. And not only does Megan and Tamra, not only do they direct it, but they also star in it. And then Tamra Bass wrote this screenplay. So the synopsis is 4 friends who met in high school and are bonded by an event are suddenly forced back together when one of them suffers a crisis. It's a story of love, forgiveness, and the incredible bond between women. So many things about this film that I loved, besides Megan Good. It's one of those movies that I would implore women, friends, sisters to watch together, right? Because it's a sisterhood friendship film. And I love what Tamra Bass said. I interviewed them both a week or 2 weeks ago. And I love what Tamra said. It was a love letter, an ode to her friends. When I asked her, what inspired this? Why did she write this? And so I feel like so many women, so many young girls, older women can all relate to this because we all got friends. We all have, sister girls and sisterhood, and it's not the easiest to kind of maneuver through relationships and friendships, right? You got to be a certain kind of human to navigate those murky waters between women. And so I do appreciate the underlying message of this film. And then on the flip side, the dudes, the men that were in this film were just as strong, just as nuanced and complex as the female characters. And I loved how supportive all the men, with the exception of Makia's husband, who was the ex-NFL player who took to drinking a little bit too much. With the exception of him, I loved how all these men supported the women in their lives. So I'm kind of curious from a male's perspective, because it is a bit of a chick flick, what you thought of it.
Well, I did enjoy it. I actually did enjoy it. It's nice to see good women black films. I think the last good woman black film I saw was Girls Trip.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was a minute.
That was good. That was really funny and great. Tiffany Haddish and all of them. So this was nice. I want a little more though, right? I felt it was like Brothers, the movie The Brothers meets
Mhm.
Waiting to Exhale.
Okay.
You know, because they had that sister vibe, but then it's like, oh, stuff is going down. Where you need me to go, girl? I'll fight him up. I'll beat him up right now. Um, but also, I mean, you would know more about this than I would, being a black woman in relationships.
Right.
But the black men, it was these phases, right, of black men. So you had the athlete, the pro athlete, kind of fooling around, trying to figure stuff out because he doesn't know where his career is going to go and what I'm doing and stuff like that. So not understanding the relationship. Uh, the baby's daddy in terms of like, hey, I'm here for my son. I still wanted to figure my life out. So I can't really be with you right now. I need some space, but I'm there as a father. That relationship was very interesting. I'll get into in a second. And then there's the good guys, right? And we always feel for the good guys. The doctor is like, hey, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing everything. I don't know what it is. I just can't do this right now. I'm like, oh God. I'm like, and that's why guys become who they are because the the good guys always get dogged all the time, man. This good guy doing his thing. He's like, oh, I'm at work. The only other time I want to do is spend it with you, and didn't want to have anything to do with them because of her past relationships. So that's a huge thing. I think bringing baggage. I think someone mentioned to me before, dating at this age, with apps or whatever, how you're meeting people. Someone over 40 is gonna bring baggage. I don't care who
Right.
they are. There's gonna be some kind of baggage. So it's hard to get closer to someone
Yeah.
because they have that wall up. Either they were hurt or they feel you're not ready to hear all their baggage. I'm not saying a kid is a baggage, but it's a form of like, hey, this is a responsibility that I have to do. So you don't even come first. You might even come second because I might have a dog too. So you're like third on the totem pole
It
of
is you
how
can
I
do it.
exactly. So the guys I actually know Jackson. I used to when I worked in LA. He's a good dude. He's definitely good. Great acting in this too.
McKinley.
So he was, yeah, McKinley Freeman. He's a good dude, very nice, soft brother, getting a little gray in the hair. I was like, oh, brother, you
I,
get old.
I
Yeah, but
like
yeah, all the men were very good. And then also the other brother, her coworker.
the doctor.
No. Todd Williams is the actor. They didn't give a name for him here. Who was with the pregnant woman? Who was with Suzanne?
Okay. Oh,
And
the
in the
actor.
off, yeah, the
And
coworker. And that relationship, who's
oh,
dating, yeah, and he's like, I want to make this work. He's like, well, I'm gonna have a kid in the way. I'm trying to do this. She's like, and you just seen her go through all this stuff. Like, how many times are gonna cheat on you? And you have a good guy who's gonna be there, even with the. He's saying, I'll be there for you with the baby.
that was huge.
And she's like, well, I got to figure it out. And so there's so many things that I said I'd rather get your perspective on, like, why? Like,
Well, I
what's the thought process of not just understanding, hey, when you have a good person there who's going to hold you down, or are you still trying to, the societal aspects, are we still
think
locked into that of what we want people to see us as, like the relationship that survived, that made it and did all that stuff? So I don't
you hit the nail right on the head. I think that was Suzanne's whole platform, right? And Kia Cox, she was really concerned on how society and how her friends and how people perceived her. So there was no way she was going to walk away from this relationship, which is crazy. And this is a lot of women do this. They will stay in some toxic ish just for the sake of keeping
know.
up appearances, right? Never mind that, he's sleeping with other women. You've had to pay other women off. Like, are you kidding me? And you come home drunk. I'm 8 months pregnant. So, I mean, that speaks a lot to the level of bullshit that we will remain in just to keep up appearances, right? Um, and I really, really loved the scene between Suzanne and Desiree, which is Megan Holder's character, when Suzanne finally unloaded her baggage to Desiree.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
went to Desiree's dance studio, and they had this super special scene where Suzanne says to Desiree, I'm tired. I'm miserable. I'm so miserable. Like, do you know how hard it is to tell somebody that you're miserable? Meanwhile, you've been keeping up appearances for how many years? So I love that they put that scene in there. And then for Desiree to receive that vulnerability from Suzanne and pay full attention to it, right? Because the worst thing ever is to pour your heart out to somebody and they're busy doing something else. It got to a point where Desiree, she put the food down. Like once she realized like Suzanne was like going through something, expressing something, she put the food down and she gave her full attention. I thought that was such a special moment between those two characters. Vulnerability was a really big thing. It was a really big theme throughout this film. Vulnerability from the female character side, vulnerability from the men's side, like you spoke about earlier. Jackson, McKinley Freeman's character, him admitting to his ex-wife and mother of his son that he's jealous of her because she knows what she wants to do with her life. Like she has a passion. I don't know that I've ever met a man that's willing to be that vulnerable with a woman, right? It's happened, like it's possible, right? But to see that reflected on the screen in a film, I think was so huge and it was so special, even down to the teenagers, Niles Fitch and Lexi Underwood, their characters. Lexi was going through bullying, and Niles Fitch, kind of swooped in and just kind of made her feel like, listen, you're not alone. I've been through some ish too. And so it was just this really nuanced, complex duality between the female characters and the male characters. And we don't really see that too often.
Yeah, they hit on a lot of things. And to go back with your conversation with Dee, I thought at first, you made a good point. I thought she was like, I'm not. Oh, I got this is too much for me. But she
It
did
seemed
actually put her plate down. Yeah, in the beginning, I was like, oh, is she? I was like, oh, but that goes into a conversation with your friend, right, or your best friend, or just someone you want to open up to. They have to be ready to receive that, and
right.
that's I think the hardest part for any friendship is like, am I ready to really have this conversation, and who am I allowing to come into my space? Is it going to be someone that's just going to be taken advantage of and just blab it all my secrets out, or someone's going to actually give me good advice, or just someone's going to be there to listen? And that was a key point. I think we should all look for people like that in our relationships, because it's not easy, especially everybody going through COVID right now. You're looking for something or some way to escape it. So to have somebody, if not your significant other, someone that you can sort of just open up to and talk about it and share ideas. But I want to be mindful though, when you go and share all your stuff, be willing to listen and also have that person share their stuff, because it can be a one-way street, but it's not really cool in any friendship.
And then when listening, like actively listen, right? And
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
listen to tell people what you would have done, or how they could have done this better, or they were wrong. Like listen from a place of understanding. That makes people want to open up more when you genuinely care about what somebody's saying. I loved that Megan Good played an unorthodox role, right? She was an addict in this film, and she wasn't in a lot of shots in the film because she was in rehab. I mean, she had shots in rehab, but really everything else was happening outside of rehab with her friends. And so I appreciate the fact that she was able to play this role that's not her usual role, and it was believable, right? Like when it finally sunk in that she had a problem, I thought that was really beautiful to see her character come to the realization and be able to admit, like, oh crap, I do have a problem. I'm addicted to pills. What am I going to do about this? I am somebody's mother. I am a teenager's mother. I am somebody's wife. How do I dig myself out of this hole? So I thought that was a really good character arc for Megan Good. I also thought it was interesting that they decided to make her husband white. Um, and he too was as supportive as the other Black men in this film. He was super supportive of Megan. I love the scene where it's towards the beginning of the film, and she's getting ready to leave, and she thinks she's okay. She hasn't come to the the point of understanding, like she needs to check herself in rehab. And he calls all her friends, so it's all these her four black friends in the hospital room, and this one white man. And he's like, listen, Megan, I had to call your girls for backup. I can't do this on my own. I need their help. That was a special scene. That was a
It
special
was,
scene.
but also he knew that she wasn't gonna listen to him.
Of course not. No, of course
He didn't get that respect level yet. He was like, "Well, listen, I gotta call some backup."
not. She was gonna shut him down in 2 seconds and
Exactly.
be like, okay, hun, let's just go back.
She
No,
was
no
gonna
need for.
look through his body. She was gonna look through his body. Yeah, this might be Megan Good's best work. She's
Ooh,
in
look
it.
at
I
you.
wish she was in. No, just from an acting standpoint. I wanted
Okay.
to see more of her, but this
Yeah.
is like, and I was thinking about all the movies I've seen her in, and I'm like, she always plays this kind of the same kind of character a little bit, but this showed her range. So I
Yep.
want to applaud her for that. That it was beautiful, really good range on this. I think it's gonna open a lot more doors for her.
Hmm.
She already has doors open, but I think that next level of taking serious roles.
Yeah.
Um, Also, this is the first time I believe that you see Black African Americans addicted to prescription drugs versus crack cocaine or
Mhm.
some other crazy drug. So I kind of like that kind of flip on that. And I was like,
Good point.
oh, that's brilliant. Yes, it can happen to us too. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be crack cocaine or some crazy, And that was always depicted of like, oh, you're addicted. I was like, oh, let's see what she's addicted to.
Right.
This is like
Yeah.
she was either an alcoholic or she was addicted to crack cocaine. So I really liked that it was prescription drugs because it's something that we're all maybe have some fast in our lives or know of somebody who's dealing with that or lost somebody who's dealing with that. So
Yeah.
having that real conversation, but from our eyes, seeing it, oh yes, this does affect the family in the same way, and then her daughter having to see her and resuscitate her and being like,
Oh
yo,
my
I'm
God.
traumatized. I need you to understand that. Like I'm messed up. And then she snapped her like, ooh, ooh,
Oh,
ooh,
he
ooh,
didn't slap
ooh.
her. Oh my God. Yeah.
I
That
said,
was a good
whoops,
scene. That was a good.
upside the head. I said, whoops, upside the head.
But yeah, I mean, that was a pretty serious scene, and I think it was that before? No, that's when she's already in rehab, and
Yeah,
she hasn't quite come to the understanding of I'm not in a good place. I'm not in a good place. And so yeah, I think the writing was superb. I am now obsessed with Tamara Bass. Like I cannot get enough of this woman. I'm looking forward to what else she writes. I think she's a dope writer, and the acting was great. I think the underlying message was incredible. Again, if you haven't watched it, ladies, friends, crews, please watch it. Please watch
hi
it because
Megan. Hi Megan.
yeah. And I wish I would. I said this to them in the interview. I wish I would have had this as a young woman, like coming up, like watching how to be a good friend, how to navigate through friendships. So yeah, it looked like you wanted to say something. No? Yes.
No, just taking the Megan moment, just taking it for myself. That's all.
So yeah, it's available on demand now. So check it out. So the last but not least, new film also came out on the 8th, same day as If Not Now When, is Redemption Day with Gary Jordan. Now, we first heard about Gary Jordan back in '93
Woo,
when he
woo.
was the male lead in Janet Jackson's video again. I mean, the brother was fine. Oh my God.
Give one more
Um,
fine for the people in the back. Give one more fine for the people in the
he was
back.
fine. Just the locks, the pretty skin, the pretty eyes. Like I don't know where he came from, but there he was. And then since he's done a bunch of stuff since then, most notably NCIS. He was featured in that, and then he kind of took a hiatus, but now he's back, better and stronger than ever. I enjoyed this movie. I was kind of pleasantly surprised by his character, um, just for many reasons, I guess. First of all, the synopsis for this film. Let me find it for you.
I can read it if you want.
Go ahead, read it for me. Thank you.
All right, synopsis. Having just returned home, decorated U.S. Marine Captain Brad Paxton's, Gary Dordan, wife, Kate, is kidnapped by a terrorist group while working in Morocco. He is forced back into action for a daring and deadly operation to save the woman he loves.
To save the woman he loves. So initially, I thought this was going to be like just a basic man saves the woman that he loves. I didn't know it was going to be so layered. Um, because he is now forced to go back into combat. He was the captain, which is a really high-ranking position. And so he has to go back once his wife is kidnapped, and he has to deal with his PTSD. He has to deal with the potential of, he might lose his wife, right? So you kind of see this character have to fight through his demons. When you think about war and all the stuff that goes on in a war and what he must have seen and what people in real life see in war, to go back to that place is a bit of a mind F in my mind. It took me a minute to kind of realize, like, at what point is he going to be ruffled? Like, when are we going to see him shake some ish up and be angry? Like, his character was cool, calm, and collected the entire time, with the exception of the scene when he's in a hotel room and he vandalizes the room out of anger once he realizes like what's going on. I thought he commanded the screen well. He was a believable character-ish for me. I think this was a great first step back into film. Like, I think it can only get better from here. I can't with you. I can't with you. Listen, it's not exactly Oscar worthy, but again, I think it was I think he did a good job. I think he did a solid job as a lead in this film, commanding the screen, and telling the story. Take it away.
Okay, awesome.
Oh God, I'm scared.
No. It was great to see him back in action. I think this movie could have given me a lot more. And what I mean by that is I wanted to understand PTSD in a different way, especially for people in the military. And so, that scene where he's just like blanks out and he like almost gets killed. I'm like, yo, I was like, I didn't know it affects you that way. Normally you only see it when they show scenes, it's in dreams or like, but not like while in action. He just like almost like brain dead. Yeah. It was crazy. So I wish there was more to build up to that. Also, he was labeled as a negotiator. So I don't know what that kind of meant. I wish we could have seen him negotiate. Then,
he did negotiate when he in a room with the leader.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't look that as negotiating. You can call it negotiate. All right. But he's like, I'm negotiating. All right, this is what I need. All right, cool. I'll give it to you.
He also negotiated. They never said the name of this guy when him and his boy, who is just beautiful, I forget his name, when they went to the mosque and then they talked to the dude who ended up giving them the car. Like, that was a whole negotiation, right? Because he had to convince this dude that he's a brother from Detroit, and he was not a brother from Detroit. Okay,
I was watching Beverly Hills Cop, and Eddie Murphy has like the bag. He's like, "Oh, it's about to explode. Oh, sweat. Oh, okay, hold this. Oh, all right. Oh, okay. I got two daughters, Unique and Monique. It's like
you are hilarious.
I felt he was selling me something. Again. All right. If he's negotiating, he's negotiating. My only thing is I get. Okay. All right.
That was my perception.
And then his wife, they had amazing chemistry on the screen. She's hot. She's beautiful. Oh my God. And their eyes, like the whole family had beautiful eyes, right? Everyone's eyes are popping. Like, all right, this is what we're gonna do half the show. But I wanted to see. I'm a big fan of like archaeology and people digging up tombs and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, we're gonna see some of this. And I was like, no, we're not gonna see any of this.
It ain't about that.
And then I wanted to do a trip to Morocco this summer, but now I'm not gonna do it. After seeing this movie, I'm not going to Morocco.
No. Don't say that. Don't say that because I mean
Don't
it
cross the
shows.
border. Okay, I'll say this. Don't cross the
No,
border.
don't say that because I
That's
think
what I'm saying.
the movie did a good job in showing the beauty of Morocco
Oh, it
while
did.
also
Trust me.
showing, while also showing this other crazy side of terrorist organizations. It was a great balance of I don't want you to think this is one crazy dangerous way. There's also a lot of
Yeah,
beauty here.
yeah.
So
And
that was
and the last thing I will say is, you had two great actors in here who you've seen in like play bad guys, just play good,
that.
and I don't think you use them wisely. That's the only thing. My only critique is Andy
Who?
Garcia. Andy Garcia's in here. Give me some more Andy. You can give me Andy Garcia all day.
Right.
Playing the ambassador, and Robin Nipper at the end, the mysterious guy that shows up. I was like, are we
Yeah,
doing a part two to this? Like I
absolutely.
didn't know where I was going at the end of that. That's the only gripe I will have for it. At the end of it, I was like, okay, are we setting up for another movie? Or what
Yeah.
are we doing here? And why use Robert Nipper's, like, he can act. Why not give him some more of a meteor role, like in there somewhere? So that's my only gripe with it. Otherwise, yeah, it was a good film.
I think that was strategic because there will be a sequel.
Okay,
The,
okay.
the ending certainly left a big cliffhanger. I think,
Yeah.
I guess based on how well it does, then that will determine whether there's a sequel or not. So
Yeah.
we shall see. I loved that Ernie Hudson was in this,
Ernie.
right? We know Ernie Hudson from
Woo!
Ghostbusters. We know him
Oz.
from what is it? Yeah, Ghostbusters franchise, The Family Business, and he played Captain Paxton's father. What I thought was dope, and they only touched on this for 2 seconds, was that Ernie Hudson was also in the military, right?
Yeah.
So you have this connection between father and son. And to your point, they could have talked a little bit more about the PTSD, especially from Ernie Hudson as the father's perspective, and then the son's perspective. I loved the support that his wife gave him. um, you know, when someone's dealing with PTSD, one of the main things you need is somebody to understand and support what how you're feeling and what you're going through. So I completely understood their bond. And for him to say towards the end of the film, what did he say about I forget what he said, but it was freaking poetic. Watch the interview, people. We actually talk about this in my interview with Gary Dordan on blackfilm.com. It was pretty sweet. It was pretty sweet. So yeah, I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed seeing Gary Dordan in this film. I enjoyed hearing his voice because he
He's
has a
still in
very
shape, ladies. He's still in shape. He's still in
right,
shape.
right, yeah,
Matter
yeah.
of fact, both these films, there's some brothers that are just in shape. There's a lot of brothers. There's a lot of brothers. All these films, brothers are in shape.
I mean, the women are looking good. The guys
Yeah.
are looking good. So yeah, I like that it's both. It's equal. So yeah, so it's available on demand, just as if not now, when is. So check it out. Support our Black actors in these films. Any last words?
I just can't wait for January 20th to get here. That's it.
I mean, yeah, that pretty much sums everything up. All right. Well, we will be back next Thursday, same place, same time, different topics. Again, I cannot wait for part 2 of Tiger Woods documentary. And
We telling secrets. We telling secrets next week.
all this. Ro has the frontline secrets. I can't wait for that.
All right.
It better be good, bro. Don't gas us up.
I'm okay. All right. No pressure now.
And I meant to ask you, what are those? What's that photo behind you? I see like a
Oh,
photo.
I
Oh,
have two classics.
plural. Okay, photos. Who's
Big
that?
Daddy Kane. Big
Oh,
Daddy Kane. And
okay.
then I have the incomparable, beautiful Grace Jones. This is one of my favorite picks.
That is a dope pick right there.
I'm not a fan of cigarettes, but it's iconic.
And so, why those two photos? Why are they posted up?
Because they're just amazing.
That's it. Oh, okay. I thought there was like an additional
No,
connection.
I was looking at some so I'm kind of changing my room around and doing some things, the apartment and stuff, and so I was like, oh, you know what? I want some iconic like black and white pictures of my people, and
Yeah.
those were like, oh, those are great. Just kind of raw and gritty and just like beautiful at the same time.
Gotcha.
So yeah, you're gonna see more to come. There's gonna be more coming. There's more stuff.
Oh, snap. I can't wait till March.
There you go, blowing it up.
All right, Ro, you have a great rest of your night, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you
All right,
for
have a great weekend.
everybody. Good night.
Bye-bye.